Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder of the Bobby White Foundation, and I'm here with a new special guest today, Michelle Overland. She's from the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, and we met up a couple days ago, and actually for the first time, and talked for like 2 hours. So we invited her to be on the show so we could talk a little bit more and bring you information, what the hospital does in the Tampa Bay area, and all that good stuff. I mean, learned a lot of really good information. But first, we will need to take care of a little bit of housekeeping. So we need to, of course, always thank our producer John and our tech guy Cage. He always does a really good job behind the scenes for us. Area 52 Media Group. We couldn't, of course, be here without them. They're great supporters. And one of our sponsors, Delynn Gaston from the mortgage firm. So, I mean, anything to do with mortgages, from if you're a first-time home buyer, you want to refinance, you have questions, you need help with your credit to be able to get your mortgage secured before you buy. I tell you, seriously, she's the gal. And we really want to thank her for her support. And also, we have been mentioning, I think the last couple of weeks, we do have Art for Hope coming up in September. September 7th, which is actually National Suicide Prevention Week. And again, it's out at the Hilton Garden Inn, and we thank them for always supporting us and being so gracious in offering their space. And of course, again, we're going to have a few local artists. We're going to have a lot of artwork for sale. We've had, it's been so great this year. We've had so much artwork donated just for this event, which I'm going through now and inventorying and pricing. We'll have our gift basket raffles, which are always really big and they go over really great. Lottery board, hors d'oeuvres, cash bar, and it is free to attend. So the Hilton Garden Inn out on the Sun Coast in 54. I brought in a couple of pieces of art that'll be available, and actually these can be available for pre-sale if you're interested. Cage, if you want to put up what is it? Can you see that? That's one. Can you see the truth? This is a large serigraph on canvas. He was a prodigy artist actually when he done this. This is one of his original pieces. He's grown now, Besso. We were one of the representatives for his artwork years ago, and we still have a few pieces of his. So that's one piece. And then we also have his self-portrait that's also a large piece. I think that one is like 30 by 40. And both pieces are canvases, gallery wrapped, so they can or don't have to be framed. But these are really awesome pieces to have. And it's actually the last pieces of the collection that we have of his anymore. That'll be it. So that's just the beginning. I wanted to start showing some of these pieces and have some of these pieces also available for pre-sale if you wanted to, and we'll have arrangements somehow on the Facebook pages so that can be accomplished, or just come to the event. So that's those good stuffs, but we have some really great stuff. I was contacted, I don't know, probably a month and a half ago by Michelle. We got an email from her, and we were emailing back and forth, and then I forgot. And she called me because we were going to try and get together. And so we got together on Tuesday out at the Hilton and to sit down and talk. And let me give you a little bit of information about Michelle. She's a licensed clinical social worker at James Haley VA Medical Center in Tampa. Michelle attended St. Leo University. I went there for a little while. And graduated cum laude with a bachelor's degree in social work and a minor in psychology. And she went on to get her master's degree in social work from Florida State University in 2000. Following completion of her post-secondary education, she went to work for the Tampa VA and served as our nation's veterans and families in a variety of settings over the years. The areas include care services, both at the hospital and in veterans' homes. She was also one of the first polytrauma case workers in the nation working with severely injured service members and their families. Michelle currently works alongside the suicide prevention team in a new initiative for the VA as a community engagement partner and coordinator, which I think is totally awesome. We need those in our community.
We do.
That's how we're going to connect these veterans and their families to help.
To help, yes.
Right? So tell me a little bit more about you and initially what you do, with the VA. We'll talk about, when we spoke the other day, we spoke about the 3 focus points of concentration. And so we'll talk about that, but tell me a little bit more about the other stuff.
The other stuff. Well,
that leads up to that.
So my time at the VA is...
Yeah.
Yes. So I was very fortunate to go to work at the VA, to start there. I did some placements through my education there and just fell in love with working with the veterans. They're really quite a unique population, and I just love them. I spent a lot of my time working with the older veterans from World War II and Korea, primarily World War II and Korea, and their families, and that was such an honor to be able to get to know them and their stories and where they served, and it's a lot of respect you develop for them. And working in the outpatient clinics, it was wonderful to be able to make sure that they're getting what they need to help between hospitalizations perhaps and going back home, or what they need to shore them up and support them there in their home. That's where everybody wants to stay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a hospital if you don't have to.
Right.
You're more comfortable at home, and probably more healing happens at home, I would imagine.
Yeah, as long as you have the support.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the important part. Yeah, is the support.
Yeah, the support.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm here working alongside suicide prevention, which is initially, when you think of it, most people are a little, I think, leery about working with that population because it is a little bit scarier. It can seem a little bit scary. A lot of people are afraid to bring up the topic of suicide, but it's a very rewarding place to be. And as you say, being able to go out to the community and build those connections and find those veterans that aren't getting the help, that's been pretty great, I have to say.
Well, and that's one of the issues is finding those veterans that need the help, because often they won't reach out.
Correct. Yeah, and I don't know if you want me to, there's a little bit of statistics that I can always put in, but when you look at, there's statistically it's 19 veterans a day who die by suicide, and 10 of those veterans are ones who either haven't come to the VA in a year or more, or they've never been served by the VA. So, how do we find those veterans? If they're not coming to us, how do we know who they are? So that's where this public health model has come about from the VA, and it's exciting because it's a whole new take on how we care for our veterans.
I think part of it too, with them not reaching out, is with these programs that you guys are developing and have developed, is building trust between the veteran and those that can help them.
Very true. Oh boy, that's a big topic. So, for many years, the VA didn't have the best reputation. And it's something that the VA is very aware of, and they've worked really, really hard to change the services that they provide and improve them. Unfortunately, the number of veterans that we serve is overwhelming. Tampa has the busiest outpatient in the nation, and I think they've done remarkable work doing as much as they can for the number of veterans that we serve. But there's always going to be a time where something doesn't go as planned, or maybe isn't as timely as you would like, those sorts of things. And so we need to know about those, because we can't fix them if we don't know about them.
We don't know about them, right.
Right.
Well, and it's really, I mean, in the Tampa Bay area, I mean, of course, we have the main hospital in Tampa on Bruce B. Downs, but there's 12 outpatient clinics throughout the Tampa Bay area. Right?
Yes.
That's correct?
Yes.
And, of course, one of them is the new one that we have here in Newport Richey.
Beautiful.
Which is, I haven't seen the inside, but the outside's beautiful, and it's big compared to what we had, you know, prior to that. And even still, I think before they built the new building, our services on this side of the county was kind of split up in, you know, different buildings. But now everything is in that new nice building over there on Little Road.
It makes it much easier
Yeah.
for our veterans. And, you know, I think many people would agree that a day at the VA is not a quick day. It's usually a full day at the VA. But it is pretty much one-stop shopping. You can go and get so many of your care needs taken care of right there, which is actually pretty wonderful. Oh gosh, I could go on about that for a long time, but
Well,
I know that's not
No, I mean,
what we're
no,
here for. But
no, it is really. I mean, that's the whole premise really of the show, is to let people know that, you know, they're not alone in going through any of their, you know, mental health or, you know, anything like this. Behavioral health, mental health. I mean, do all these outpatient clinics have that mental health, behavioral health?
they do.
Access there.
They do. It's such an important part. And the Secretary of Health has actually, there's 6 priorities that have been set out there, and suicide prevention is one of the 6. So they are definitely looking to how can we help our veterans who are returning and those who have been home. How can we help them better live their lives and move forward in a healthy way? So they're really trying hard to focus on that.
I've really seen the changes in the Tampa Bay area when it comes to the veterans and the VA's approach. You know, in the last several years. We even had an experience with a family member who went to James Haley, who had attempted suicide. And fortunately, he's still here with us today. It was
Wonderful.
Actually probably around 9 or 10 years ago that he attempted, and he was a veteran. And so his wife, at least he had easy access, it
Yes.
seemed like, when he was in crisis, because at the time he was in crisis.
Right.
And he was able to get the help, you know, that he needed. So
That's wonderful.
we were, you know, as a family and you know, extended family, you know, we were really grateful for that. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just anything that you think is important, or even not important. I know it's all important, because
It's also important.
yeah, and that's why we do this show, because we want people to know, you know, because that's one thing that, and I think with people not reaching out, they don't know what's out there or what's available, or they're
Right.
afraid to ask, and because there is still such such a stigma when it comes to suicide
There is.
and mental health. You know, whether it's our veterans, the general public, first responders, but the
Yes.
veterans and the first responders, it might be a little bit of a higher, I don't know, I'd say risk anxiety level because of the stigma. You're supposed to be strong, you know, and especially, you know, and it's our society's changing a little bit, but you're a veteran or you're a first responder and you're a guy and you're supposed to be strong and not cry, not show your emotion. But that's not working.
How do you talk to somebody about it that hasn't been there?
Right.
That doesn't really understand.
That doesn't understand. Right.
So,
And again, that's why we're here.
that's why we're here.
That's
yes.
we want people to know and to feel comfortable and to learn, you know. So that's why we had so much fun just chatting and the other day, and the time went by so fast. We're like, oh my gosh, look at this, you know. And there was just so much more to know and to learn. So I was like, okay, you got to come and be on our show. So we need to get
appreciate
this.
it.
We need to get this information out there. But
So we do have the crisis line number has changed.
right.
That is 988 and press 1. So that's a really important resource.
It makes a big difference because you don't have to remember that really long number.
Right.
You know, and we always, at the end of the show, we have all the numbers. The long number is still a working
still
number.
works,
Still
yes.
a working number, but at the end of the show, we always show and encourage people to have them in your phone.
Yes.
You know, even when I go out at speaking engagements, I make people take out their phone. I'm like,
Yes.
take your phone out.
Put it
and,
on your phone.
you
Yeah.
know, put this number on your phone, and
You may never need it for yourself, but you don't know.
you just don't know
who you're going to interact with. You know, it's amazing the number of the numbers. I don't have to. It's kind of like preaching to the choir with you to talk about numbers and those who have attempted and those who have died by suicide, and it's astounding. And being able to recognize, that's so important, recognize those thoughts and who might be at risk. And, you know, if they're even joking about it or casually talking about it.
You have to take it seriously.
You do.
Even, you know, and I've said on more than one occasion, say something.
Yes.
Even if it makes that person mad, like, why would you think I would do that? Blah, blah, blah. You just don't know.
You don't.
And I would rather have them mad at me than have to go to their funeral.
Yeah. Ask the question.
You know, you have
Right.
to, and you have to be direct. Don't hem-haw around, you know.
And don't ask it in a way that you're looking for a no. Those that you
Yeah.
wouldn't be, you know, you
Yeah.
wouldn't think about that, would
Yeah,
you?
no, you have to be absolutely direct. Are you thinking about taking your
Yeah.
life? Are you thinking about suicide? Do you have a plan? You know, and don't leave those. If there's just a slight hesitation, do not leave that person alone. Reach out and get help. I mean,
And that's
the quickest
the
thing, even
988.
you can call 988. If it's really super
911.
bad, call 911.
Yeah.
You know, the help is out there more and more.
The
It's
help
just
is out
getting people to know that it's there.
Right.
You know, and not be afraid.
Not be afraid and just support them where they're
Yeah.
at. Validate what they're going through, you know, and let them know that you're there for them, that you're supporting them, that you're listening, and then get the help as soon as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We were talking about the VA has like 3 focus points of concentration when it comes to the suicide prevention crisis
Yeah,
team
what
or
we're
whatever,
doing
what you're
here.
doing. So I wrote these down. I don't know, I think in the order that we talked about them. So, and I think it was the order. Identification. So tell me
Yes.
about that.
So just to pull back a little bit, the position that I'm in is called, it's everything at the VA is acronyms. So it's a CEPC, so I'll refer to Community Engagement and Partnership Coordinator in that way, so it's CEPC. And with that, the VA has said, okay, we know that those 10 veterans are out there, and how are we going to reach them? We don't know who they are. How can we reach them? So that's when they said, you know what, we need to go out to the community. We need to find them. We need to find their families, their neighbors, their coworkers. So they're going to know who the veterans are and who's having difficulties and who's not.
Right.
So there's a lot of areas that can be focused on with suicide prevention, and it can be almost overwhelming. Right.
That's for sure.
Yes. So, they've brought it down to 3 main focus areas. And the first one is identification and screening. So finding who those veterans are that are out there and saying, help us out there, and making sure that the question's being asked, and letting them know whether it's they've never been to the VA or they haven't been back to the VA in a while, getting them there, getting them reconnected, or whether they're seeing their own provider out in the community, going to their provider and saying, having them encouraging them to go to their provider and ask for, support and resources. As long as they're getting the help, that's the big
That's
thing.
the point. So how do you find these veterans in the community?
So that's where people like you come in so important. We're reaching out to individuals, organizations, foundations, and saying, please partner with us and help us get the word out. We're looking for these individuals. We're trying to, our second area of focus is connections or transitions.
Right.
And making sure that they know they're not alone. And again, that's one of the big protective factors when it comes to suicide.
Oh, yeah.
Is having connection with people or someone, whether that's going to a coffee social, where you meet up with other veterans and you're able to talk with people who get it, or whether that means having, a family member come over and say, hey, I'm here. However we can make those connections for them so that they're not alone.
That is so very important, because even if a scenario, say they attempted and they're getting the help, then the VA is reaching out and you're setting up these connections. If that is not in place, another attempt is probably very highly likely.
It's, when you look at the numbers, it's, again, we go back to data, and I don't like to focus on that a lot, but the data shows that people who have survived a suicide attempt, 90% of them will not die by suicide in the future. At that point, they should be connected with services. They should be getting follow-up care. And that connection, again, is what's so important, that transition from inpatient to outpatient, and making sure that they're getting their needs met. But there's that 10% that you really need to try hard to reach and find. And if they are hospitalized and the VA isn't notified, how do we reach out to them if we don't know that that's happened? How do we make that connection happen? So again, it's trying to get the word out and working with our community facilities to say, hey, please, call our team and, let us know that this veteran was hospitalized here, and we'll help get their follow-up appointment. We'll help make sure that even if it's not with the VA, it's somewhere.
Right.
They need that follow-up. They need that hand there to check on them. So, and say, hey, you're not alone. How you doing?
Right, exactly. We can get through this together. Yeah, it takes a community. It doesn't, it's so much bigger than one organization. I mean, even
Yes.
you guys, it's even so much bigger than the VA. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes, and our foundation has been really big in that from the get-go, is to connect with community partners so that we can all work at this together, because it's going to
Yes.
take all of us, you know, just within our own community, you know. So, yeah, it's... When we were talking about this the other day, I was just like, oh man, that is just so great. Now the third one is I think, the scariest and the hardest one, and that's the lethal means and safety.
The lethal means safety, yes. There's a lot more to lethal means safety than just locking up a gun, but the firearms are the highest percentage of means used when it comes to suicide behavior. And working with the veteran and trying to respect the importance that firearms play in their lives, or medications play in their lives, and being able to come up with options with them that we can still respect that, but keep them safe during that time of crisis.
Right.
That's something that's important. And, you know, a suicidal crisis is actually pretty brief. It's usually less than an hour. So if you can put that time and space between that impulse and the action, chances are you're going to get them through that so that they will never die by suicide.
Right.
And that's the important part.
That's important. Yeah, I found on the VA website there, you guys actually have a video, which I'm going to put the link to the video in the comments. The space between thought and trigger.
Yes, it's so important. And for veterans, you know, as I said, the firearms are such a part of their lives. That's what they're trained to do. It's what they use. It's just a part of who they are. And so for them to have that in their homes, it's not unusual. And
Right.
it's you don't take their guns away. You know
No.
what I'm saying?
Well-
That's not what we're trying to do either. When we talk about lethal means safety, we're talking about, you know, are you willing to put a lock on the gun, or have a combination with your family member that knows the combination and not you during this time of crisis, until you're able to get help and feel better just during that time. How can we help put that distance between?
Yeah, it says, I got this off the website also, your guys' website. Nearly 7 out of 10 veterans' deaths by suicide are a result of firearms.
Yes, yep. They have them, they've been trained to use them, and they know how to be efficient with them. Fortunately, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's a big part of being able to change that trajectory in their lives, is how can we help them with that lethal means safety. But it's working collaboratively with them.
Right.
And being able to come up with a plan that respects them, but yet works.
Right.
Yeah.
I been doing a little bit of my research, because when we were talking about this, actually the National Firearm Industry Trade Association has a suicide prevention program for retailers.
Yes.
And we touched on that briefly the other day. And I'm going to put the link to that in there also, because that's really important, because
Very important.
they could be that one point
Yes.
that could...
When people are looking, you know, so even if they don't have firearms in the home, with the retailers being provided with that training, that education, and the awareness, when somebody does come to them, I think on that same page there's, it may be a different one, but there are stories about how this retailer saved my life because, you know, I could tell when she came in that this was kind of the thoughts, and they're able to provide some intervention or put that space in between, redirect them. And that's right there on the front lines, boy, right
Oh,
there
yeah,
where,
exactly.
yeah, if you can,
And on that, on their website, I think it's right on the main part of the page is they have a retailer's toolkit
yeah.
for specifically for
Fantastic.
this, which we'll get into some more. But it's just like I was doing kind of some things at the last minute, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember we were talking about this, and here, here it is, right here. Cage, I hate to do this, but we don't have our timer on the screen, so I don't know where we're at. But anyways, I had no way to tell you anyway. There we go. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But anyways, okay, we're doing good. So yeah, I just it's nice to see some of these other organizations really stepping up and helping. But then again, how are these retailers going to know about this? How is it getting to them? Because we live in a society that, well, and it's really hot right now because, don't take away my guns no matter what.
Right.
But we not only have the retailers, but how can this information get to the gun shows? Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of them, in Florida.
We do. And so our team, the suicide prevention team at the VA, we do a lot of different tabling events where we'll go out and have information. We'll bring gun locks, we'll bring all kinds of things so that we can talk to people, not just veterans, but anybody who we come across that, help us out there and, talk to them about services. As far as the Retailers Association, I would think that would be something that they're marketing to the different gun shops. I haven't been to a gun show myself, so I don't know if they're present there with a booth or a table to also have that presence and get that word out. But I do know that that's part of my aim, is also to work with the ranges in the local area, the shops, and individuals like that. I would love to come and provide SAVE training. The VA has a specific training geared towards suicide prevention, as well as trainings on lethal means safety and what that means. And yes, being safe with, safe gun ownership is important, especially when it comes to having them in your home, but when it comes to suicide prevention, that's a whole nother thing. So I would love to be able to provide those kind of trainings too. So it'll be part of what I'm doing in my efforts.
Maybe we can be of some help.
That would be wonderful. That would absolutely be wonderful.
Well, it's just so important. Like I said, it's so big. It's so bigger than any of us can handle. So we have to work together, and we want to work together with anybody that's willing to work with us, because it is so important. One suicide death affects anywhere from 135 to 149 people.
It's very far-reaching when you think, just yourself. How many people do you actually know? And you may not think you know that many,
right.
But when you look at, well, how many people do you work with? And if you have children, their friends, or the teachers at the schools that you know. What about your churches or your community groups that you spend time with?
Right.
That adds up really quick.
Yeah, it does. And those people are affected. They're part of the lost survivors.
Yes.
Co-workers, friends. It's not just family. It reaches,
right.
Even further than that. Which we found out.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, more than we would realize, have been affected by suicide in their lifetime. And those that have been, I think, can definitely agree with what we're saying here and how important that is to get that word out. The problem is, though, is making it where it's not something fearful. You don't have to have specialized training to talk to somebody. You don't have to, it's really more just about recognizing those signs and asking the question, and then just supporting them, listening to them, validating them, and then
getting them help.
Getting that
And
help.
you don't have to don't worry about being the person per se that has to help them, that has to know all this stuff.
Right.
You're going to be the facilitator that's going to get those people, that person, to the help
Yes.
that they need.
Yeah.
That's your important role.
And that's picking up your phone and calling 911, 988, or taking them to the closest hospital emergency room, anything like that. But
Right.
doing those things are just so important.
Even, if there's a family member, a trustworthy family member,
Yes.
that's the important thing. Or even another trustworthy friend. I have a friend, a guy that I know, and he has a group of gentlemen, and one of their friends, he is a veteran, and he has attempted several times, and the last time that I had heard that he had attempted a few years ago, all these guys, they take turns checking on him, so it's not one person's responsibility.
fantastic.
So it's a group of like 5 or 7 guys that do this, and so everybody takes turns and helps out. And the last time he attempted, and my friend fortunately made it to him in time, and he beat the first responders there, but was able to keep him alive until they were there, and he survived. But this is where it goes back to, he was mad at him. He was pissed because they saved his life.
Yeah.
But
I hope he was able to get.
I hope so too. I mean, and he had the support, but sometimes it's really hard, and it takes a toll on the people helping them. But it's human. You just be there to help and support, as much as you can, and get them to the right people. So it's not. Don't try and make it so overwhelming for yourself that you got to be the savior.
Right.
Because you're going to think, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to look
What
for.
if
I don't know what to
say
say.
something and it makes them want to commit suicide?
Right.
It
But
doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, no. And that's one thing that's a misnomer, that people think, well, if I say, are you thinking about taking your life? Or are you thinking about suicide? That you're going to make that person think about it and do it.
Right.
And that's not true. It is not the case. So don't be afraid. I mean, you have to be straightforward. They may not tell you the truth, but there's other signs, and you just have to keep on and just keep
And
watching.
being present and
Yeah.
being supportive, and and believing what they're telling you. Validate those
Exactly.
feelings in their situation.
Yeah, don't use any negative connotations, like, you shouldn't do that because blah 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 blah. Everything positive that, like you said, validating their feelings is huge.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to when you look at risk and protective factors. Everybody has them. Risk factors are things that would increase the likelihood of suicidal behavior. And protective factors are the things that kind of outweigh that, okay? And when you're looking at risk factors and people who have attempted in the past, people who have mental health issues, people who have substance abuse, losses, unemployment, housing, relationships, those are all risk factors that are so important in all of our lives. So the protective factors, then what we need to do is increase those protective factors to outweigh the risk. And so connecting them with people, letting them know that the mental health care is out there and helping them get to it, access that, helping them with employment, all of those types of things, to deal with substance abuse, all of that, substance use.
Well, and substance abuse is a high risk factor for suicide. It's often, they often go together.
Yeah, it is one of the risk factors for sure. And so that's the way that, one of the important ways that we would be able to help combat the suicidal behaviors is increasing those protective factors. So helping them to do that. You know, if you have a friend that is isolated, has the mental health concerns, but they're not able to access it or don't know that it's out there, helping them to get with the right people to make that happen, supporting them. Yeah, those are all important things to help overcome those risk factors.
Especially during that time period.
During that time of crisis.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We were talking about, I want to talk about maybe some of the outpatient clinics that we have, because I mean, I had to go through, and I was counting, and I was like this one, two, like, man, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I mean, we have the brand new facility here. We were talking about a facility that you were just visiting Tuesday before we came and talked.
Oh.
It's I don't think
it's not a VA.
It's not a VA outpatient clinic, but it's
a community facility. Yeah, that we had visited. So the VA actually has a number of avenues. They have domiciliaries, which they're building a new one, thank goodness, and they also have the inpatient acute center where they can get stabilization. And then we also have other areas in the community that we work with. If you know, we don't have the bed availability at the VA and we need to make sure that that veteran is someplace safe and can be stable, then we'll work with our community facilities to make that happen. And that's everywhere. We have contacts, you know, it doesn't matter what county you're in, you know, there's places that we can get them to. The Compact Act is something that's also new. Not many people are aware of it, but it helps to eliminate for many of our veterans that concern of I don't have the insurance, I can't pay for my care. If a veteran goes to a community hospital emergency room and for evaluation and they're hospitalized and that facility notifies us, that's the important part, is letting us know that that veteran is there. Depending on qualifiers, that veteran could have that hospitalization paid for, and then I think, not entirely certain, but I believe it's up to 90 days after that, that follow-up care that they need can also be covered by the VA. So that's huge. That's a really big barrier that a lot of people face when it comes to seeking care, mental health care. And just knowing that, you know, that's a possibility, that if you go to a community facility for help, even if you don't want to come to the VA or you can't get to the VA, if you go to your community facility and they let us know, again, the important part. Communication. Right, we can't help if we don't know, you know, so they have to let us know. But so that's really
So is that part of something with your job too, is getting these going out to these hospitals, the community hospitals, to be able to get them to know what's going on and that, hey, this is available, or how does that work?
It's important for us to go out and say, you know, hey, by the way, you know, the Compact Act is out there,
right?
And you know, we can help, but this is what we need. But we also have a team. It's our transitional care team that, when we are contacted by the community hospitals or facilities and notified that a veteran is there, then our care team will work with those discharge planners, with that facilities care team, to ensure that that follow-up appointment, that post-discharge follow-up appointment is within 7 days.
Okay.
And then help them with that.
And make sure
that
they get there.
scheduling.
Make sure
That's the important piece, right? And that can be a tough one.
Right.
That can be the tough part too, is getting them there. So it's important that they let us, that those facilities reach out to us. Or even if the veteran's family or friends
Right.
reach out and say, hey, he was just hospitalized over here, what can the VA do to help? And then at that point, then we can work with that facility then to facilitate a safe discharge.
Right. Well, and again, it goes back to getting the information out to the public and out to the veterans, and so that they know that it's there. That seems to be, I mean, with anything, even if it's not a veteran, it's just the general public, it's finding those resources. Even with the internet and social media, and I don't know if it's really finding the resources or just not utilizing them. I mean, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Part of it may be going back to the stigma, but then too, the wait times of getting help.
Yeah, so that's why we say, with that transitional care team is so important to getting, once they're notified that that patient is being discharged, then they can get them scheduled within that 7-day time frame.
Right.
So that they do have that follow-up care, they are connected and not lost in the process somewhere.
Right.
And like you say, with the support services that are out there, I have to say, when I first started in this position, spent a lot of time trying to find what's out there, what's being done, what kind of support services are out there. I was surprised by how many small pockets there are of people or groups or organizations that are trying to address suicide. But it's almost like those are those small little pockets. But if they combined their efforts, then I think that reach would be a lot further. And that's partly what we're trying to do, is help them. We're kind of here as technical assistants for those groups to bring them together and help them make the greatest impact that they can with their efforts.
And that's just wonderful, because I see it here, just because now we're a part of it, is each group kind of has their own focus.
Yes.
Because the issue is so big, you can't focus on the whole thing. Like for our foundation, it started out on the lost survivor side.
Yes, the postvention.
Right. And of course, it still morphs into prevention, because lost survivors are at such a high risk for suicide. And then we partner with and work together a lot with another organization here, Ian's Way. And Ian's Way's focus is teen suicide prevention.
Yes.
Jennifer lost her 16-year-old son to suicide, and so that's what their focus is. So when we know what these organizations are, what their focus is, then we can help direct people even more to which organization or who's going to be the best help.
Yeah.
It may be more than one.
Right.
But we've all got to work together and know what everybody else is doing, and what your focus is, what can you help. Or if we have somebody come to us and it's kind of a little out of our realm, whether say it's a teen suicide prevention thing, really huge, then it's like, okay, Ian's Way has, and I know the counselors that they work with, so we can direct them, let's go here. We're still here to be support,
right,
and a resource, but we have more available.
And it's that community connection, really. And when you look at risk factors, there's that individual person and their individual risk factors. But then there's also the community that they're in, and what does the community have that's going to support them or going to put them at risk?
Right.
Does or does not have. And then there's society at large. And, how that plays into all of that risk and protective factor. So the more that we can build up that community to help support the individual, really, it's so important. We don't live in a little vacuum by ourselves. It's our community.
Oh, believe me,
That's there.
I know.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for our community when
Yeah.
I lost my husband, I don't know what would have happened. And I was extremely fortunate being in business here for so many years, and I knew a lot of people, and
Right.
I just, it was just something that happened because of just the way I, worked and being in the community. But not everybody has that.
Right.
Not everybody has those connections. And sometimes we have to work a little bit harder to connect with those people
Right.
so that they know that they have the support. They don't have to go it alone.
Right.
It's, so yeah. For me, it was more of the community that was helpful than it was my family.
Yeah. Well, community comes in a lot of different ways.
That's true.
Yeah.
But of course, my family is supportive. But yeah, but most of what I do has always, even when we moved here, my friends were either other business associates, things like that, because that's just what I did. I
Right.
didn't grow up here. But it's just a natural thing. So
It's a byproduct of your daily life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it worked out well for me, and with the support that I have had, and we've been able to help people, and we've had people that have experienced the loss that wouldn't talk about it
Right.
until they heard me talk about it, and I really think that helps so much more, because talking really does save lives.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Right. Right.
So I am just really grateful for you and for meeting you. I think we're going to become really good friends.
Yeah. I'm so
I mean, I
excited
think
about
we
this
already kind of
partnership.
have. I mean, I think the synergy between our foundation and the VA and with what you guys are doing is going to be really great,
Yeah.
going forward and helping people in our community.
Even if we can change the life of one person,
That's just it. It is. It's just.
we want more than that.
We
But
want more, yeah, we want more than that.
we want more
but-
than that. But yeah, if our efforts make a difference in one life, then
Yeah, that's what
a
I said
wonderful
from the
thing.
beginning, and I know that we already have, but we want
Yeah.
more. It has to be more. You can't.
want more.
I mean, we don't want people to have this as a part of their journey in their
Right.
life if we can help it.
exactly. And when you look at that 19, I don't want to be somebody who has one of those 19 in their lives.
Exactly. Well, now, really quick, because we're getting
Yes.
close, and I was going to ask this earlier, and then of course it plops out of my mind. It was 22,
Yes.
and we're down to 19.
We're down to 19, which it's heading
That
in the
is-
right direction.
That's amazing, because that's
Yeah.
the first sign of real hope
Yeah.
of a decline in the suicide rate, which hasn't happened in 30 years.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about
It's
that.
exciting.
I'm
It
excited,
is.
yeah.
We want it down to 0.
Yeah,
But, we're heading in the right direction.
we're heading in the right direction. So
Yes.
I wanted to get out there. I got an email, and this, when is it? Friday, August 4th, the Threshers versus the Flying Tigers, down at, what is the name of the stadium? Baycare Ballpark. They put on a really great show. I don't know if they will, don't get mad at me if they don't, but they usually afterwards put on really awesome fireworks. They may not for this, because this is for Veterans and Military Appreciation Night.
Yes.
So they may not do the fireworks on Friday night, but Saturday night I'm sure they will. So we wanted to make sure we got that in. And also, I forgot to thank one of our sponsors for Art for Hope, Annie's Pet Sitting Service. She is a Da Vinci sponsor. All our sponsor levels are named after artists.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
she was our first major Da Vinci sponsor for Art for Hope. So if you want to sponsor, we have different levels, and you get to be on our show too, just like that. And all our social media and everything else. So we have different level sponsors, starting as low as $25 if you want to do an in-kind sponsor, all the way up to our Hope sponsor. So that, and let's get those phone numbers up. Make sure you have these numbers in your phone. Have them available. It is so important. And our positive quote for today is, give the veteran hope.
Yes.
I can't,
Fantastic.
I was looking for something, I was like, well, anything hope, of course.
Yes.
But
So important. Yeah.
I thought that was really, that
love
was
it.
good. I had another one, so we'll save it for another time.
Okay.
But I want to thank you again for coming
Thank
on
you.
and sharing what the VA is doing in Tampa Bay. I'm just,
And everything that you and your organization does is just phenomenal, so I'm excited.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, like we always say at the end of the show, there is always hope.
There's always
so thanks for joining us.